You could, and maybe should, discuss how All Rise relates to the Buccaneers Season 2 in general, particularly as it makes the aftermath of Dick's passing last week feel a little underappreciated. Though the majority of the episode is unquestionably a carryover from plot points largely raised way back in the season premiere, Episode 7 does not completely forget about the event and in fact dedicates a portion of its runtime to both his memorial service and significant turning points in multiple character arcs in light of it. This could be an issue for some people. However, it's managed so nicely that it's difficult to think of anyone grumbling too much. I must admit, it wasn't on my Buccaneers bingo card to suddenly turn into a legal drama, but that was the way things were in the Gilded Age, when divorce was cause for a full trial. For her own sake, as well as the sake of every put-upon wife, abandoned mistress, and bewildered child who might be in a similar predicament, Patti is resolved to get rid of Tracy to the maximum extent of the law. She needs to prove something, and Nan and Nell are helping her do it. However, it's a bit of a nightmare. A rosy image of Patti's family life is not painted by the controversy involving Ginny's escape to Italy and Richard's death upon her return at the hands of his own brother, who was also her husband. Her intimate relations with Tracy are also called into question. Although she qualifies her admission by stating that it was the only way she could attempt to keep Tracy at home, her admission that she started the majority of their interactions is a significant victory for Tracy's team. The two witnesses who were going to testify, both of Tracy's ex-boyfriends, are put off by the sharpness of the questions. Unable to provide a name or any specific details about her natural mother, Nan takes the stand to stir up controversy regarding her parentage, but the debate is swiftly redirected. She can't even be certain that Tracy is her father, the defense contends. He is unable to affirm or deny. Everything about the scenario is bleak. Naturally, there is only one solution. Even though it's obvious, the Buccaneers Season 2, Episode 7 enjoys the ride to the destination. It's simple enough to figure out why it wouldn't be in Nell's best interests to testify. She is significantly pregnant with her present husband, Arthur, and it wouldn't be appropriate to ruin the life she has created with the only person who has ever respected her after being used and mistreated by men for a lifetime. Patti demands that she be silent. She is prepared to endure the heat. Nan is the one who persuades her otherwise. Since it wasn't immediately clear, Nan quickly determines that Nell is her biological mother and chooses to speak with her about it, primarily in an attempt to get her to testify. Nell argues for her choice, refusing to be patronized by a pampered duchess. However, Nan's comments strike a chord, and she tells Arthur what she intends to say the next day on the witness stand. And she does reveal. Nell includes comprehensive receipts for the tea in addition to the tea itself. You can't argue with the documentation. Patti ought to be released from Tracy's control as he is an adulteress. The fact that the man boasts to Patti, Nan, and Nell that they will never receive another dime from him, much less be allowed to see him again, probably tells you everything you need to know about his conceit. Well, Tracy, newsflash, but I believe that was the main idea. We deal with Dick's monument back in England. At least in Lady Brightlingsea's opinion, Conchita isn't handling the funeral well 6 weeks after it happened. Telling someone how to grieve is a bit presumptuous, but I can't say I'm shocked because assumption is kind of Lady Brightlingsea's whole thing. It's interesting that Conchita openly criticized her for her foolishness during the memorial service, which is, I guess, fair enough. Conchita, however, is in mourning. And resentment for Ginny, which is unjust but natural, is one way that grief shows up. In all honesty, I believe that their separation and reconciliation might have been done across a few episodes for the hurt to be more noticeable, but it's just a small criticism. It's evident that Dick's passing in this story serves to enable a number of characters, including Conchita, to reach pivotal points in their own arcs. Honoria is the other. She is also grieving Dick's passing, but she is nonetheless sensitive to Lady Brightlingsea's demands and opinions. Honoria eventually gains the confidence to pave her own way after Conchita confronts her mother, stands by her, and accepts her into the Buccaneers sisterhood. In addition to traveling to France, she also snogged Mabel directly in front of her mother, putting a custard pie in her snobby face. How shocking is that? If Paloma hadn't arrived at the last minute and introduced herself to Nan as Guy's wife, the Buccaneers Season 2, Episode 7 would have been a surprisingly pleasant episode merely to ruin that brief love reunion. This is it for All Rise. You can't have an entire hour in this show without something terrible occurring. At least Patti isn't returning to Tracy's house. Small mercies are a blessing.